Welcome to Caskets and Cocktails, Memoirs of a Cemetery Dude. Get ready for a hilarious dive into the world of death care where cemetery industry veteran Mr. Danny and his daughter Katie will answer all those crazy questions you've been dying to ask. Go ahead and pour yourself a drink, pull up a rocking chair, and get ready for some laughs because we guarantee Caskets and Cocktails will be the last ones to let you down.
Hey guys, Katie Leverett here.
I'm Danny Faulkner. I'm her daddy.
And welcome to Caskets and Cocktails.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving. I'm so thankful for this show. I can't believe it. We've had a crazy week, Daddy.
I'm telling you, it's just amazing.
We popped up on Apple's podcast top list as number 6 on the comedy rankings.
Oh, man.
And 62 overall. So, boy, I mean, I went bananas when I saw that.
I didn't know we were funny.
I didn't know that either, but apparently people like us.
Well, maybe they just think we're funny.
Maybe, that's probably more it. Or maybe they don't understand us.
It's a language barrier.
Exactly. Yeah. But to say that we were excited and appreciative of you guys is an understatement.
It is.
I'm just shocked people enjoy it. So we're having a lot of fun. We hope you guys are too. And we hope that's why we are on the Apple Podcast charts right now.
Yeah, we'll keep doing our job if you guys keep doing your job.
And our listenership has almost tripled since we popped on there. So
really?
It's working. Whatever we're doing, we're having fun. So thank you guys. And on this Thanksgiving, I'm super grateful for you guys, our fans.
Yeah, I am too. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can hardly wait to start getting fan mail.
What do you think will be in it?
I don't know. I hope it's pictures.
Ew. Like of what?
I don't know. Somebody will send us a picture of their horse or something.
Yeah.
This is my horse Fluffy.
We listen to you all the time.
Yeah.
Well, with it being Thanksgiving, I wanted to ask you, are there any special stories you may have about Thanksgiving or anything that happened around the holidays, that sort of thing?
Yeah, one thing sticks out. And when I was in mergers and acquisitions, I bought 5 funeral homes and 4 cemeteries in Eugene, Oregon.
Okay.
And
that's a pretty place.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, and people are real nice, and it's just an absolutely beautiful place. But a lot of times in funeral homes, funeral directors or apprentices will live in an apartment above the funeral home.
Ooh, that's a perk of the job.
Oh, yeah.
Note to self.
Yeah,
free housing.
Yes, free everything. I mean,
it's a little creepy though too.
No, why?
I mean, what if you were dating?
Yeah.
And you
my wife would get pissed.
Oh, that would be awkward. Not you specifically.
Oh. Well, I don't know. It doesn't bother me.
Especially free makes anything better, right?
Exactly. Lights and water and all that stuff. But anyway, I bought this, and they moved an apprentice in over this funeral home, this one funeral home. Uh-huh. And on a Thanksgiving morning, about 3 o'clock in the morning, this character comes up and he starts pounding on the door. Just boom,
that's
boom, boom,
spooky.
boom, boom. And so the apprentice comes downstairs and opens the door, and there's this character standing there. Uh-huh. And he says, "Can I help you?" And he said, "Yeah." He says, "My wife died." And he says, "Well, what's the address?" "Well, I mean, we'd be glad to go pick her up." He said, "No, she's in the car."
Oh my God.
Yeah, she was in the car.
He just loaded her up in the car?
Loaded her in the car. It gets better.
What age man was this?
Oh, he was probably early 60s.
Oh my God.
And his wife was early 60s. And anyway, it gets better. He said, "I want you to cremate her." And he says, "Well, sir," he says, "we're not open right now." He said, "You're going to have to come back in the morning."
What was he just going to drive off with the body?
No, he wanted her cremated right now. Well, you can't do that.
Hashtag suspicious.
Yeah.
I listen to enough murder podcasts or watch enough true crime that is what we call a red flag.
Yes. And the apprentice, it scared the apprentice to death because he figures he's like staring at a murderer. You know? And so he tells the guy, he says, okay. He said, I'll start getting everything ready. He said, but you can't come in. He said, so stand right here and I'll get everything ready and then I'll come out and I'll get your wife. So he goes in immediately, calls 911.
Slams the door and locks it like a whole bunch of times.
Yeah.
Where it's like clack, 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 clack.
He says, he calls 911.
Yeah.
And so he's waiting with his ear against the door, waiting to hear sirens. And so
there's the murderer.
He's
got the body here.
He brought me the body. Told me to get rid of the
Happy
evidence.
Thanksgiving.
And so he the cops show up and there's like 3 police cars, and there's this old man standing at the door with his dead wife in the car.
Oh my God.
Sitting in the front seat. Seat belted.
Stop it.
Yes.
Stop it. Stop it.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Oh,
And
that is the craziest thing I've ever heard.
the guy was from California.
What?
Yeah, he was from California, just outside of San Francisco.
Oh, jeez.
She died.
Oh, my God.
He put her in the car. He was so upset he didn't know what to do. So he put her in a car. He seatbelted her in.
Did this man not have a telephone? Dear God.
He didn't know what to do. I guess his mind just went
Crazy.
blank on him.
Yeah.
And so he just took off driving. And he drove like 5 hours or 6 hours to Eugene, Oregon.
Oh my
and
God.
He happened to see a funeral home. And it struck him that she wanted to be cremated. So anyway, that's how he got there.
Oh my God.
From
Talk about
California. The police are on him like a duck on a June bug.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So they go in and...
Was she really dead?
Dead.
I mean, like, when he strapped her in, do you think she was really dead? Or do you think she was, like, faking it?
She was dead. No, you don't fake that.
Like, should he have gone to the hospital?
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, that's what I would have done.
Yeah.
Or
I don't think I would have put her in the car at all.
I probably would have called 911 and said, hey, listen, I think my wife's dead. You need to send somebody over here.
Yeah.
But he didn't do that. So he drives up there and the police arrest him. And the police, the little apprentice goes in and he gets the wife out of the car and takes her into the prep room or the embalming room and puts her on a table. And they send the medical examiner or the coroner over there to examine her and say, yep, she's dead. But they're trying to figure out.
Is that the official term?
Yeah.
Is that how they do it?
And they go, yeah, wow, she looks dead. Yep, she's dead. And so they checked her out and all this stuff, and they figured out that she died from a heart attack. And so they called...
Because she was married to the creepiest guy on the planet. She wake up and be like, oh my God, he's so creepy.
And so the police, they called the police and let the police know that it was a natural death, that the guy didn't have anything to do with it.
Right.
So they got him with transportation of a body across the state lines without a permit. I mean, that's not a life sentence.
I know. Do you even go to jail for that?
No, I don't think so.
I think you would get beat up if you went to jail for that. They'd be like, "You did what?"
But they tell you, listen, and next time this happens, don't do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the punishment.
Yeah.
So anyway, the guy came to his senses.
Yeah.
While he was in the holding tank.
Right.
And they let him go, and he wanted to take his wife back to California. And,
load her back up in the car?
He was wanting to do that. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. Says, we'll arrange transportation back to a funeral home where you're from, and then you can handle it from there. So they arranged transportation for this lady to come back home. And, can't you imagine?
No.
When he calls the kids.
Oh, my God.
Hey, listen, 2 things. Your mom's dead, and I'm in Eugene, Oregon with her.
Oh, my God.
And somehow or other, I'm in jail.
That is like the worst case scenario. And happy Thanksgiving because it's on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
My God. I mean, the kids probably showed up expecting Thanksgiving. They're like, where'd Mom and Dad go?
Exactly.
They're supposed to be here.
That was a weird Thanksgiving.
Oh my gosh.
Happening.
Yeah, I would say that is crazy.
Yeah. And when people die, I guess, especially unexpectedly, you, to a certain extent, you panic.
Yeah.
You kind of go into shock.
Yeah.
And you don't really know what you're doing.
Right.
But, for all of the listeners out there, if that happens to you, just a word of advice. Do not load your spouse in a car and drive 6 hours from where you live. Just call 911. It's simple. Pick up 911, and then they'll handle it from there. And don't ever say, and by the way, coroner, happy birthday or happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Then you're suspect because you're too happy.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say about that story. That is insane.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Beach Too Sandy, Water Too Wet is a comedy podcast featuring brother and sister duo Alex and Christina as they recap dramatic readings of 1-star reviews written by real people with not so real problems. Whether it's a bar's no throw-up policy, a barista who's just too friendly, or a school psychologist's fashion sense, prepare for equal amounts of laughter and eye-rolling. Listen to Beach Too Sandy, Water Too Wet on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, or any of your favorite podcast apps. You can also find them on all social media platforms at Beach Too Sandy. So we have some new podcast buddies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, their podcast is called Clear Your History Podcast, and it's super good.
Oh, yeah?
And guess what? They did a Mothman episode a week or so ago.
Yeah.
And in it, they played our clip, and they talked about us, and they said that they want to grow up and be just like you.
Oh, man.
They must like Jack Daniels.
They must. They must enjoy Jack Daniels. And they want to have white hair.
I guess. Yeah, that's probably it. I love how nobody wants to grow up and be like me.
Well, maybe they're your age.
Oh, that's true. Maybe that's why. Well, guys, take a second and listen to Clear Your History podcast promo. Hope you're going to enjoy it. We love the show. We think they're pretty funny.
They're all over the place. There are a lot of different topics and subjects.
I know. It's fun. It's fun. So enjoy, and here's the promo.
Flatwoods Monster, tentacle porn, animals that smell like popcorn.
Popcorn that smells like animals? What do these things have in common? Absolutely nothing, but it's the stuff we're searching this week at Clear Your History Podcast.
Each week, we bring on a guest and we cover some rather interesting topics. Some may be real events.
Like the Kentucky meat shower of 1876?
Or that guy that strapped a bunch of balloons to his lawn chair.
Holy smokes.
But some may be fake events, such as...
anything Steve talks about.
Oh my god, yeah, Mel's Hole, Philadelphia experiment.
We can go on and on. Listen to Clear History Podcast, where each week we have a different guest, interesting topics, fun facts, and you can't forget our amazing sponsors.
Pleather Daddies, AdamandSteve.com. We buy hair.
Their outrageous Bread of the Month Club is legit.
Check out Clear History Podcast anywhere you download podcasts. And don't forget to check us out on Instagram. That's Clear Your History Podcast.
We got the meats.
So we got an email in this week from Carl from Chicago. Carl with a K, not a C.
Oh, okay.
Just in case anybody was wondering.
I know him, don't I?
I don't know. But he was wanting to know about traditions
Yeah.
in burials. And I thought it would be really great with it being Thanksgiving today to talk about traditions. So I know you've worked kind of all over the country, and I'm sure there's different traditions for different, types of religions or cultural backgrounds. Do you have like one or two that maybe kind of stick out?
Well, yeah. There are traditions, all religions have their own burial traditions. I ran a Jewish cemetery in New York. Although it wasn't just exclusively Jewish, it also had other ethnicities that we served as well. But, in the Bible where Pilate washes his hands from Jesus, well, when Jews are buried, there's a pot of water out from the cemetery, and everybody that leaves washes their hands. And that symbolizes that they had nothing to do with that person's death.
Oh, that's interesting.
And Chinese, when they bury, they burn paper money.
That makes me sad.
Yeah, me too. I'm always, and they kind of turn their back to the deceased and look in a different direction because, it's that feng shui thing, which I don't know about.
Right.
And I'm always kind of waiting for them to turn their back so I could reach in and grab the money. But
that sounds sneaky.
They're all too quick for me. But I guess there's two things, like the Vietnamese, they have Tet. And they'll go to the grave and they will cook. They'll cook food and leave cooked food at the grave. Melons, watermelons, all kinds of stuff.
Do they bring like grills in?
Yeah.
Or like in that section in the cemetery, do you have built-in grills?
No.
I don't know.
No,
you go to the park and there's like a a random grill there. I didn't know if that was the way it is in that section.
No, it's not. No, because they're buried all over the cemetery, not just one,
I didn't know if
Vietnamese
they were
section. But they do that. But when I was in New York, we had a Muslim section, and whenever they had a burial, everybody would show up, but none of the women could go to the burial.
Really?
Yeah.
What if it's their husband or their son? Or
Sorry.
You're kidding. Oh, goodness. That's interesting.
The women would all come to the office. Well, the men would hang out, and the boys would hang out and waiting on the hearse to show up. And when the hearse showed up, they all just went nuts. And they would open the hearse and they'd pull the casket out and they'd hold it over their head and it would almost fall down and they'd pick it up and they were running.
I mean, those are heavy.
Oh, they're heavy. And they were just treating it like a feather and just throwing it up in the air and all that stuff. And they'd run to the grave and they'd put it on ropes and lower it down. The whole thing was over in like 3 minutes.
You're kidding.
No. And
what did you think the first time you saw that? Were you scared a little bit?
Well, I was scared because I thought they were going to drop the casket.
Yeah.
And when that happened,
that's what I'd be frightened
that's
of.
not a good thing.
No.
Because generally when the caskets drop, something pops out.
Ooh.
And we don't want that.
No.
So, but that was the only thing that frightened me, was that they were going to drop it, but they didn't. And I guess I saw a bunch of them and they never did. But they're quite exuberant about getting the guy to the grave and in the grave.
Yeah.
And then they all took turns shoveling dirt on him.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting. But all religions, all ethnicities, they all have their own traditions on how to bury. And that's why type of burials you can't pass laws against them.
Right.
Because the separation of state and religion.
Oh, that's
so
interesting.
they can't monitor how your religion handles burials. So it's interesting, all the different cultures and all the different ways they bury their dead.
Yeah.
And we're in this country. We're one of the few countries on the face of the earth that buries people and leaves them there.
What?
Yeah. Most cultures will go down after a period of time and dig the bones up and put the bones in what's called an ossuary.
Like in New Orleans.
Yeah. And they put them in an ossuary, then they'll bury somebody else there.
Oh, my. I don't know how I feel about that.
Well,
that would not be a good job.
No, it wouldn't. But by the time they get to them, there's just bones.
I don't know about. I'm not convinced.
But there was in New Orleans, like you were talking about, but also in Europe, you see these cemeteries where the headstones are just like 6 inches apart.
Right, I've seen that, and
and that's because they have to wait like 80 or 90 years, and then they can bury in that same spot, and they put another headstone up for the guy you just got through burying. And so these cemeteries are 200, 300, 400 years old, and they've been filled up 4 or 5 different times.
Ew.
But they just keep burying them and burying them and burying them.
Like, do they bury like family on top of each other, or if it's like
No.
it's just like a random dude on top of
Just a random dude on top of you.
Oh,
but
my.
You've been buried for 80 years.
I mean, that's a really good like business model, right? Like, you're never gonna run out of space. You're like, come on.
Yeah, we got room.
Yeah.
We got room. Come on. But that's all cultures, countries are different.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, and we as Americans think, well, this is the way it always is.
Yeah.
But it's not.
It's not.
There's a lot of, for instance, Buddhists all cremate. Okay? And it's a big deal for Buddhists to go to the crematory and hang out during the cremation. Of course, you can't see anything.
Right.
They're just kind of hanging out in a
Like
kind of a
like
living
a
room
sitting
area.
room.
Yeah, sitting room, waiting on this to happen. But it takes about 3 hours, and it takes about another 2 or 3 hours to cool down.
Ooh.
So, I mean, sometimes they can't wait that long and they leave.
They're like, I didn't realize it would take this long.
Yeah, right. And,
My zen is out.
and the monks, they're there for the start of it, and then they
leave.
Yeah, they leave. They go to
They got other stuff to do.
do whatever monk things.
Yeah.
Whatever monks do, they got to leave and go do it.
Well, that's really interesting, Carl. From Chicago. Thank you for that. That was really good.
Yeah, Carl. And if I know you, hey.
Hey. Well, again, thank you guys so much. I'm glad you could pop over to our Thanksgiving special today. We love to hear from you guys. So send us an email at casketsandcocktails@gmail.com. We actually have a phone number now as well, which I don't really know off the top of my head, but it's in the notes to the show. So no worries.
Okay.
It's in the notes to the show. Or you can download the Anchor app and leave us a voicemail as well. But
call us and leave us a question. Send us email a question. If you've got a little story, call us. Leave us a story.
We want to hear stories.
Yeah.
We want to hear your stories. We want to hear your questions.
Everybody's got stories about when weird Uncle Joe died. Or, Uncle Junior, when he died. Call us, give us a message, email us a story, email us questions.
Yeah, we love to hear from you guys. And we want to say a big thank you again for helping us pop onto the Apple podcast charts. I mean, it really just made me and Mr. Danny's day. I called him and I was like, oh, you'll never believe this. I just saw on Apple the charts. So it's been a really cool experience. And for those of you out there, it is so important to rate and review us on your podcast network. So please take like 2 minutes to do it. This week on social media, if you follow us, which I hope you do, we're at Caskets and Cocktails on Instagram and Facebook, and Casket and Cocktail, no plural, on Twitter. But this week we've been sharing some of the awesome reviews that you guys have left us on Apple, because it's a week of being thankful, and we're grateful for you guys. So tell all your friends, your family about Caskets and Cocktails, and remember,
We'll be the last ones to let you down.
Hey, Daddy.
Hey,
Did you know that we have a sponsor for this awesome podcast?
I do know that.
You know what's really awesome? Is Killer Trace.
Really?
They're so cool.
Well, let me tell you a story about that.
Ooh.
I gave a waitress at the restaurant that I eat at one of our cards and talked to her about the podcast. She said she loves that type of podcast. She said, my favorite is like true crime. She said, I just took a subscription to Killer Trace.
You're kidding.
I said, are you kidding me? I said, that's our sponsor. And she said, well, I didn't know it. I already ordered it. And she said, I'm so excited. I said, well, when you get it, you will love it.
Yeah, it is so cool. I got our first box, and it feels so real.
Yeah.
You get case files in the mail. You get evidence. There were even like crumpled up Post-it pads on your folders. It was so cool. I am totally obsessed. I feel like I should have been a detective, but I don't think I'm brave enough.
No, until you don't like blood too much.
No. But Killer Trace is the real deal. So you guys don't be like the waitress and order without giving a shout out to Caskets and Cocktails. Our code is CAC 2018. Again, that's CAC 2018. And we have a link to Killer Trace in the bio of this podcast. So guys, be sure to check it out, right, Daddy?
That's exactly right. And never forget that we'll be the last ones to let you down.
That's true.